All right. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming. Good to see everybody. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe. It does help a great deal. Appreciate you coming in. I hope you enjoy it. Looking forward to I'm looking forward to reading this legal disclaimer. Let's get started. Today's demonstration is designed to instruct you on using Metastock and the accompanying software plugins. It's not a recommendation to buy or sell, but rather guidelines to interpreting and using specific indicators and features within the software. The information, software, and techniques presented today should only be used by investors who are aware of the risk inherent in trading. Metastock shall have no liability for any investment decisions based on the use of their software, any trading strategies, or any information provided in connection with the company. So I want to say, I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for coming. Again, we do have a great speaker today. Actually, double disclaimer, John Osborn. John, I'm very, very familiar with. He's done a lot of work on all of the coding. And one of the things that I really, really like about John is not only is he a very good programmer, is able to program all of this stuff into Metastock for us, he does a really, really good job of showing it as well. And he can really demonstrate it and talk about it. And I find he's very, very skilled at both things, so which is a kind of an unusual match. So, John, I want to say thank you for coming in today. Welcome to the room.
Well, thank you very much. And I have to push my head back down a little bit. Got a little big there. That I can do two things at once. Maybe I don't get accused of doing that all that often.
I'm not a fan of multitasking, but
yeah,
I think that's a longer conversation. In any case, we do have YouTube running as well. If we have some questions that come in through there, I'll ask you. I'll pass them on to you at the very end.
All right.
Would that work?
That works great.
Otherwise, I'm going to get out of the way.
All right. And I have to figure out how to change the screen here. Do I have to choose change presenter?
No, that's my job. So all you're going to see is you're going to see a note that says, hey, do you want to share your screen? And that should have just popped up on your screen. And I will let you know that we can see it and that it looks good before I let you go.
All right. Hopefully you see it now.
Basecamp Trading.
There we go.
All right, very good.
All right. Well, I'm ready to go. Should I start? Can I start now?
It's all yours, John.
All right. All right. Well, welcome, everybody. My name is John Osborn, and thank you for that great introduction, Jeff. I appreciate that. Tonight, I have some pretty exciting stuff to share with all of you. This is unlocking the hidden hedge fund techniques that are going to help you succeed in your trading. So I'm pretty excited to share this with you. These are things that I use in my own trading, and I'm really happy to be able to share them with others. I'll tell you a little bit more about why I'm happy to share it with others, et cetera, in a little bit. Because we're going to be talking about trading, let me make sure I do a risk disclaimer too, and you can read through this whole thing, but I just want to say trading is risky. Don't trade with money you can't afford to lose. We've done our best to ensure the accuracy of the information I'm going to share with you today, but this webinar is to provide you with information you can use to help make your own independent trading decisions. And of course, past performance isn't indicative of future results, although we do count on past performance to help us have a good idea where things are going. But markets are unpredictable, and you want to be prepared because they are going to, sometimes they'll take a left when you're expecting them to take a right, and that's just the way that trading is. And we also want to show you CFTC Rule 4.41, otherwise known as the hypothetical disclaimer, and that is the government wants you to know that trading has both rewards and risks, and don't trade with food or rent money. Also, I'm not soliciting you to buy any stocks or options or futures or any other securities. Again, what I'm trying to say here is be careful. The market can take your money. So today we're going to talk about how to completely transform, that's a powerful word, but transform the way you are trading and start to seriously grow your accounts by using a very powerful patented hedge fund technique. And what I want you to do is imagine being able to approach the markets every single day armed with the sophisticated patented software that a hedge fund developed. Now, do you think that you'd possibly improve your trading if you had really good tools, like tools that a hedge fund has? And just imagine being able to identify trades with pinpoint accuracy like a hedge fund. Do you think you'd be able to drastically grow your trading account? And if you've never thought that this was possible until now, I have great news, because it's totally possible for you to do this with what I'm going to show you today. Maybe you're thinking to yourself, yeah, John, that'd be I'd love to be able to trade like a hedge fund. But those hedge funds, they're so sophisticated. They have the best, smartest people working for them and the best software. How am I going to be able to manage that and compete with that? So, well, here's the good news. What I'm going to show you today is how to see exactly what hedge funds see in real time in real world markets, so you can stay ahead of the masses. And as I said, I'm going to show you a couple of tools here that are essential to my own trading. And after you see them, I'm quite confident you're going to want to start using them immediately when you see how powerful they are. These two tools are called MQ Value Charts and MQ Trender Pro. It's called MQ, by the way, even though I'm from Basecamp Trading. MQ stands for Microquant, which is the parent company of Basecamp Trading. So you'll see MQ in a lot of our indicator names, and that's where that comes from. Our website is Basecamp Trading, and it's our methodology, but the parent company is Microquant. Now, these two indicators, the MQ Value Charts and MQ Trender Pro, I have some special names for them. I call one of them, MQ Value Charts, I call it the Hedge Fund Fixer, and I'll explain why. And the other one is called the Trender Pro is the real name, but the name that I affectionately call it is the Profits Multiplier, and I'll tell you why that happened, why that is the name. So I'm going to explain why these powerful tools can make a huge difference in your trading. First, let me show you a couple of examples. This is just from the last couple of days, these examples here. This is 2 days ago. We were watching Solo, which is, many of you might know, is an electric car maker. I was looking for an entry, and the Hedge Fund Fixer indicator signaled a buy entry, and it gave us more than a 7% gain in a couple of days, and this one's still going. This is on the 30-minute chart. Here's an example from yesterday at the open. Our Hedge Fund Fixer signals a short entry, making right here. This is the signal that you can see where it says VC sell. This thing made 12% in the first hour and a half of the market yesterday. This was an ABV, and this is a 30-minute chart. And by the way, these gains aren't even using options. If you had used options, these gains would be even more impressive. This is just how much the stock is moving on these signals. And here's an example from this morning. Today at the open, our Profits Multiplier signaled this long entry. Actually, it was just a little bit after 10 o'clock, 10:05, something like that. It gave us a signal to go long in sundial growers, and jumped in for a 5% return just by lunchtime. And again, this is on a 5-minute chart, and I haven't checked to see where this one is now. I don't know, maybe it's up even further than then, but it looked like it was going pretty strong. We were seeing a little bit of fall off here at the end, so I might have taken profits at that point. Now, question is, who am I? I've always been interested in the markets. You can see here, I'm a lifetime investor, and I've been trading since the 90s. I'm a software engineer. As Jeff was saying, I write the code for a lot of this stuff, and I've been a program manager at a pharmaceutical company, also working for Department of Defense, and right now I'm a trading analyst at Basecamp Trading. And I run the trading rooms at times, and part of the reason I do that is because when I was growing up, and some people say, why are you trading in the markets, or why are you teaching people and stuff? And I say, I watched my dad trade by looking up stocks in the newspaper and staying informed on new developments, and he would do that through reading. And he was one of those traders who bragged more about what he did wrong than right in the markets. And he said, do the opposite of what I do. Some of you might know people like that, or you might even say that sometimes about your own trading. I hope not. But that's how he approached it. So I was a little cautious about it. I dabbled with trading here and there as a kid, and then even as a young adult, but I wanted to do better. And throughout, I was always investing. But I started to more actively trade in the 90s during the dot-com boom, when even monkeys could pick a winning stock portfolio. And when March of 2000 came, of course, me, like many traders, learned the hard way that markets don't always go up. And I realized then that if I wanted to continue trading, I needed to learn more about markets and how to make money, whether they're going up, down, or sideways, whatever they do. And if I could learn how to trade myself, then I could teach my dad how to do the same. So I said, I'm going to learn how to do this. And as an engineer, you can imagine, I went all in. I took all kinds of courses. I spent all kinds of money, too much money, more than I wanted to or should have, perhaps. And I did that for many years. And I felt like I was going in circles, trying one thing after another after another. And it wasn't until I got involved with microquant and Basecamp trading that some of the stuff started to make more sense and start to work. And that's really where I learned how to read price action and finally learned how to trade. So to give back, and I wanted to teach others about trading in hopes that they can reach their own goals and teach others to do the same. And unfortunately, my dad passed away before I was able to teach him what I learned. I could have, he was at the point where he was starting to not be interested in anything when I finally did figure it out. It was a little sad for me, but today I know that helping others to achieve their own goals in trading is going to be something that will always make my dad proud. And that's why I like to help people. So I want to see each of you get better at trading. I want to see each of you achieve your goals and do the things you want to do. The goal isn't to be like the greatest trader ever. The goal is to get income or whatever you're looking for so you can do the things in life you want to do. So I want to show you this today because I want you to learn something that has the capacity to get you well on your way towards those goals. Some of you will have the opportunity today to transform your trading starting today. So let's get started and let's talk about that first essential tool that I use to help give a hedge fund trader's view of trading. It's something I refer to as the hedge fund fixer, and it's officially called MQ value charts. So I'm going to show you what value is, because value is what this first tool is all about, and I'm going to show you why it's important. So we're going to start with the three components of trading, and that is we need three things every time we take a trade, and if we're going to trade well, and that's price, momentum, and value. Price is something we get as traders just through our data and through our platform. It's the current and the historic price of the stock or whatever you're trading, the commodity futures, but price shows you the movement in the markets. Now, the next thing is momentum. That shows us the power and the potential follow through of any market. Momentum can be identified through a number of indicators that you might have. At Basecamp Trading, we prefer to use our own custom MQ momentum, but others might use something like MACD or other momentum indicators. Now, the third thing I said was value. And value isn't as readily available as those first two. There are a few things that come close to finding value, but there's only one place in the world where you can get the patented tool that can show value, and that's coming from us. But I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit here, but let me first explain a little bit more about why value is an important part of this, because some of you, I believe, are only trading with price and maybe momentum. And I want you to understand why including value is critical. And if you don't include value, you're at a serious disadvantage in your trading. So I want you to understand why value is so important. So what is value and why do we care about it? And if you have any questions, by the way, I'm trying to keep an eye on the question box. Feel free to ask questions if you'd like. I'll do my best to notice them and answer them. So we're going to talk about value and why is it important. And one of the best ways to think about value is when we're out shopping and we're going to go buy something. Maybe it's a TV, or maybe you're buying a new shirt, or maybe it's even something like a gallon of milk, right? We all buy gallons of milk, or many of us do, especially with kids. If you have kids or you like coffee with milk. But let's say we're buying a gallon of milk, and let's say the price of the gallon of milk is $3.99. You say, oh, it's not a bad price. But of course, what happens? Well, the very next day, it goes on sale. And that $3.99 gallon of milk is now just $1.99. It's still the same gallon of milk that was sitting on the counter yesterday or in the store yesterday, but now it's only half the price that you paid for it. Now, that's very frustrating, and that can happen here in stocks too, because we might pay $3.99 for something, and the next day it goes right down to $1.99. We could have waited one more day, have we known, and got it at half price. If we only had a way of knowing that milk was overvalued yesterday and was going to be going down in price today. It's too bad that there isn't something telling us that milk was overvalued. Now, even at $1.99, when you think about it, you can say, hey, is that a good price? Well, we really don't know, because we still don't have a good way to know if it's going to drop even further from here. I mean, even at this lower price, we really don't know if it's fairly valued or not, because milk doesn't come with an indicator that tells us its value, and neither do stocks. You know, when you look at our stock market, whether it's futures, options, Forex, or regular stocks, we just can't tell by looking at a market when we see a collection of prices. We can't tell whether the current stock price is over or underpriced. It's really tough to know. We might think we have an edge when we look at a chart. Like this one here, we can see a history of prices. And unlike the milk, at least we can plot out past prices and see where price is relative to where it's been. But let me ask you this. If price is rising, how do we know if it's reached the point where it's likely to move back down again? You know, we might think, hey, we come up to a pivot or a previous triple bottom or something like that. Those are the things we use, but we really don't have a measure, or many of us don't have a measure to tell us what the value is, what the value behind it. And that's what's important, because we need to know what the value is to know if it's got room to move higher before we jump in, or if it's overvalued and we want to jump into the downside because it's ready to reverse. And it turns out that value can have very little to do with price alone. So we really need something to help us determine what the current value is. Now, some of us have other things that we buy, maybe bigger things, and one of them is a used car, right? This is a nice used car. It's like a Range Rover here. But let's say we're buying a used car, and let's say that seller was asking $30,000, and you kick the tires, look under the hood, driving around, maybe say, a lot while you're looking at it, and you asking yourself all the time, is this $30K a good asking price for this car? Is it fairly priced? Now, who here knows what you can do to find out if this car is actually worth what they're asking for? Go ahead and type it in if you know what the answer is here. Because just like the milk or the market chart, it can be difficult to know if the price is fairly valued. Because at $30,000, you don't know if they're asking too much, or is it way underpriced and we should buy right now. All right. I don't know if any of you know what the answer is. I'm not saying it typed in, but I'll let you know here, because we can tell what the real value of the car is. In fact, if you go to a car dealer, they're going to bring out what's called the Blue Book. Now, it might be a yellow NADA book, NADA book, but the Blue Book is a tool that helps us understand value. We can use that Blue Book to look up that exact car and what condition the car is in and what options it has, and it will tell us what the fair value of that car is. The Blue Book provides the value. Okay, so now with the Blue Book, and we look at the asking price, we can tell if that asking price is fairly valued or not, or if the price is too high or too low. So if they're asking too little for it, we know to buy it, right? If they're asking too much for it, we're going to pass and wait until the price drops. And that's what we can do with the Blue Book. It's great for cars, but what about the stock market? There isn't a Blue Book for stocks that we can look up and find out what the fair value for Apple is right now. And if there was a book, it'd be outdated as soon as the next day. So what can we do? And guess what we have? Of course, value charts. Value charts is an indicator created by Basecamp Trading that can reveal value. Okay, it works on any market, any time frame. It can work on stocks, on options, futures, forex, cryptos, whatever. And it's actually patented. And you can only get it from Basecamp Trading. And not only is it patented, but we had it vetted by leading experts at some business schools. Those specific schools were the Wharton School of Business, the University of Michigan, and UCLA. We had those PhDs evaluate it in depth, and they all came back and said, you know what, this thing does work. It does show value. Plus, this thing has been hedge fund proven. Here's what happened with a hedge fund. This was years ago when we first created value charts. And there's a hedge fund that was losing money every month. In fact, it was losing on average about $62,000 a month in the way that their system was running. So they decided to take value chart and add that in as a filter in their decisions to get in and out of the trade. And almost immediately they saw results, and they turned that hedge fund that was losing $62,000 a month, they turned it around and they started to generate $27,000 a month. So they went from losing $62,000 a month on average to gaining $27,000 a month on average. That's an $89,000 a month difference, an $89,000 improvement just by adding the value charts filter. That is why I call value charts the hedge fund fixer, because I know that if it can turn that hedge fund around, then guess what it can do for our accounts? All right. If it can turn that hedge fund in such a dramatic way, I think it can improve anyone's trading. So you're fortunate to be here and that you chose to come to this presentation because you're in the right spot. Be glad you're here because no one else can offer this tool because it's patented. And let me tell you more about it. And again, if you have questions, let me know. So here's how value charts helps us out. See, value charts is doing all the math to do the calculations in the background to determine the value. And it boils down to just using colors to identify where value is. And we tried to make it really easy. I mean, as engineers, we're ready to show all the different numbers, but we realized that most traders just want the basic information. And we boiled it down to just 3 colors on our charts: red, yellow, and green. Here's the color mapping. When you see over here, see how over here we have red at the top that aligns with this upper part. Then we have a yellow band here. You can see we have significantly overvalued in the red, moderately overvalued in the yellow, fair valued here, and then we have undervalued in yellow, and again, significantly undervalued in red. So you can see in the middle is green, that's where the fair value is. And when we exceed certain levels, that's when we get overvalued or really overvalued, or down here, undervalued or really undervalued. We call it, instead of really, we use the technical term significantly. Okay, so we have chosen to show value in terms of color. Now, technically, it's still generating a numeric value here, and you can find out exactly what the numeric values are and know where these transitions are. This is actually 4, and this is 8, and this is -4 and -8, but you don't need to know that. In most cases, you can just go ahead and use the colors. Those colors that we're using are based on traffic signal colors, the same as red for stop, yellow for caution, and stop if you can, and then green means go. You can just stay in it. So you can think about price being like a sports car. Sometimes a sports car or a regular car has to stop and reverse and go the other direction at the stop sign or the stoplight. So that's what we're waiting for is when we turn yellow or red, that's when we take action. Okay, so it's pretty cool that all this complex value or complex concept of value has been narrowed down just these 3 colors. It even gets even more simple. How do we use it? In its most simplified form, all we want to do is make sure that we buy when the markets are undervalued. So when we see the red, those are buying opportunities, and we see the red above, those are better for selling. So selling when we're overvalued or significantly overvalued, and buying when they're undervalued. Basically, we're going to buy when things are on sale and discounted and below value, right? And we want to sell them when they're overpriced. Isn't that how it would be great to be able to trade like that all the time? Is to buy when things are underpriced and sell them when they're overpriced. That's kind of what we're trying to do in the market. And that's exactly what this indicator does for us. And just like when we're out shopping, when we're doing stocks, we don't want to buy something when it's overpriced because it's not likely to go higher, nor do we want to sell something when it's underpriced because it's not likely to go lower. So we're going to use value to help us determine if the market has more room to run in that direction. So if we're in a long position and we start to see red bars appearing on our chart, then we're getting a signal that we're not likely to continue rising. And maybe it's time to take profits or lock in our gains. If we're short and we see a red a bar appear when red below, then we might want to start considering exiting, taking partial profits, etc. Because it's almost like you put the brakes on when you see red. We're not going to keep going further in that direction many times. Now, let's talk about what value charts looks like. Okay? What does it look like on our charts? And first, to be able to appreciate it, let's look at a chart that doesn't have value charts on it. This is Tesla. And what we're trying to do is look at this chart and see if we are overpriced, underpriced. What's the value? All right. So we see only price. We don't know whether that it's currently fairly priced or too high or too low. It's difficult to tell, right? Especially on this last bar here. So if I asked you, are we in a good position here to take a short? Because we're looking pretty bearish. This looks like it's going to drop further. Well, what do you think the value is at this point? Okay, you can type it in if you want. If you just want to watch, that's okay too. Okay, but the thing is we really don't know what the value is here. I don't know what the value is. I rely on using the indicator. So let's turn the indicator on and see if it can tell us what the value is at this point, because this was looking like a pretty good short here, especially if we can break through this pivot. Well, if we look down at value charts down here at the far right, what do we find? Well, we already ran into the yellow. We didn't quite get into the red, which would be a definite, I don't want to take it. But yellow actually is a pretty good sign that we are not going to keep moving lower. Yellow is, the caution. So that would probably keep me from wanting to jump into this short, even though it looks like we're starting to trend lower. Okay, well, let's see what happened. Turns out that had we jumped in here, we would have been stopped out because it reversed and went the other way, reversing off being undervalued, even though this looked like it was probably going to go lower in many analyses. Okay, so it really helps to have that extra picture of value. And over here, we can see that we went up, and now maybe this is already a good point right here to be able to take profits even over here. Okay, so we don't know if it's going to keep going. It's kind of like we're getting stuck in a channel here is what it looks like. Okay, so value charts in this case would have saved us from a potential loss. And in fact, we get a reversal at that point, and it could have been a decent entry to enter instead. So instead of taking a short here, we should have been thinking about taking a long, and we wouldn't have known that if it wasn't for value charts. So if you're new to using hidden value like this, it might be surprising when this happens, but it's something that you can easily get used to when you start including value in your decisions and profiting from it. Because once you're trading with value, it's hard to imagine trading without it. And this right here is the kind of information that a hedge fund has access to, and they're using it, and it's giving them an edge. When you think about a hedge fund, think about the word edge is built right into that hedge. They have an edge. It's this kind of inside information that isn't visible to most people that could give you an edge in your own trading. And without it, you're at a serious disadvantage. You could make these mistakes. Okay, so the market is not responding properly. You get in and all of a sudden it goes the other way. Maybe you just didn't have the information, or at least the information that a hedge fund would have used to stay out of it. So how does value charts help us anticipate price movement? In other words, how can we make better trades with it? Well, it helps to know what's the likelihood of the market to stop moving in that direction. It turns out that once you get into the red, there's a 90% chance that you're not going to keep going in that direction. 9 out of 10 chance. That's a pretty good odds that once it turns red, it's not going to keep rising. It doesn't mean it's going to reverse, although it does often, but it means that it's not likely to keep moving up. Same thing if it goes significantly undervalued. Okay, now even the yellow has a 2 out of 3, almost 2 out of 3, 67 or 66.6667 would be the exact 2 out of 3, but basically 2 out of 3 chances on yellow that it's going to stop and go the other way, like it did in our example. So when you see yellow or red here, there's a pretty good chance that it's not going to keep going in that direction. And now you understand how easy it is to use these colors and have confidence that you want to take action based on value. And this is bizarre when you think about it, because most of you have not been bringing value into your analysis, and you've missed out on this really obvious addition that just isn't necessarily available to everybody. Okay, so basically when you see color, it's time to take some action and maybe go the other way. Here's an example how value charts can help us with anticipating the value extremes. We got Apple on the daily chart here. I'm going to draw some lines in at the significantly under points. These are whenever we had red on the bars down below. This one's a little hard to see, but there's just a tiny little bit of red there. And yeah, it can matter how red it gets. A more significant number might have more impact, but if you get a little bit of red, that's enough for us. So watch how every time when I line these up, that we do get a pause, at least a pause, like even here. See how we come down and pause and then go sideways for a little bit. Then we come down and actually reverse here. Okay, the next one was here. We actually pulled back in reverse, went back up. Here we pulled down, kind of went sideways and then up. And here we went down and reversed back up. And you can see how value extremes are affecting price. Same thing when we look at the significantly overvalued points. Look how almost every time that we have a significantly overvalued point, we are either consolidating after it or reversing in some cases. So it's quite often you will see a reverse. Okay, I think there's a little red tip on this one, but I think I need to clean my glasses, but I might have missed one there. But look at all the other times here. Now, it doesn't work every single time. Remember, it's 90%, not 100%. So you can't count on it all the time, but it's amazing how often it will work. Okay, this makes it clear how important knowing value is to your trading and identifying better places to get into your trades. Now, all of this adds up to a bunch of things, and I know we're going to move through time so fast here, but this is what value charts let you do. It lets you anticipate those market turns so you can figure out where you might want to take your profits, et cetera. You can also use it to buy stocks when they're on sale, when they're undervalued, and also take profits when they're overvalued, and not go into a trade new when it's already overvalued. In other words, you don't want to buy something when it's overpriced. You want to buy something when it's undervalued. And that's what value charts can do for you. You can, if you decide to get value charts here, you can take value charts, put it on your charts, and then go back and look at some of your old trades and see if value would have made you take a different stance. And that will convince you that value should be part of your trading. Now, we also use value in many other ways. I don't have time to go over all these different ways here, but we use it for identifying price reversals, which we talked about. We also use it for value trend trading, where if you're in a consolidation channel or a compression area, you can actually do the buy when it's red on the bottom and sell when it's red on the top, and then sell red on the top and buy it at the bottom. As long as you're in a compression channel, it works great because it's going to be reversing on value changes. You're not going to use price for that, but you're going to use value for that, and it works great. We also use it for looking for multi-time frame convergence of value. We even filter our trades based on a higher time frame. Like in our day trading rooms, we monitor what's going on with value charts on the 4-hour chart. And if we go significantly over on the 4-hour chart, we won't take any more trades to the upside for the rest of that day. Once we go significantly overvalued on the 240, we might still take short trades, but if it's significantly over on the higher time frame, we're expecting that that's going to be a peak, and we're not going to be getting in for additional trades to the upside. So it filters our trades that way. We can even use it for divergences just on value. Some of you know divergences based on MACD or whatever. We use it for MQ momentum. You can do the same thing with value divergences. And of course, we include more things here. This is a Metastock image I took earlier today, and it shows our signals right here. You can see value charts down below here, giving you the value of each of the bars. I've also incorporated value dots, which you can turn on and off, and that's give you the same thing as where the value, where the yellow and the red are. And you can turn on just the red if you want, or just the yellow, but I call those value dots. I have MQ momentum in here. We sell that for $300 as an indicator. We're including that in this package for you guys because we think it's so important. So you're going to get that included. The value trend ribbon is based on a bunch of different things, but it gives you an overview of whether we're bullish or bearish in combination, so you can look for convergence on that trend. And of course, you get the signals. You get VC buys and sells, and you also get bullish and bearish pressure indications, which give you some additional smaller signals. But the big VC buy and VC sell are the ones that were triggering those events that I showed you earlier today. Of course, you get the expert commentary. You're going to get the explorations with, I think it's 8 different searches that you can look here. And we've got a user guide that gives you, who reads instructions? Well, I hope you do, because there's some good stuff in here. But it's designed to be intuitive. If you decide not to read it, you're still going to be able to look at the reds and the yellows and take action. But I do hope if you buy in today that you will take a look at that, at least skim it and find out what's in there. Now, you can add value charts right now to your trading. We're going to give you that opportunity. But I said I'm going to show you 2 different things. But just remember here is that we're trying to transform your trading. I want you to be able to consider what you're doing right now in your trading without value and realize how that might be hurting you and making you get into trades at the wrong time, because you're at a serious disadvantage if value isn't considered in your trading. So if it ever feels like the market's chewing you up and eating you for breakfast or lunch, perhaps this time you gave yourself the tools and the information that the hedge fund traders are using. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the other one here. If there's any questions, go ahead and type them in. I'm happy to answer them. I hope you like what you're seeing, because this is critical to my trading, and we use it every day in the Basecamp trading rooms. Every single one of our rooms features both of these tools that we're showing you very much, and probably in every single trade we take, these are considered. Okay, so if you have questions on that, let me know. Maybe it's pretty clear. I hope it's pretty easy to follow. I hope I'm saying this the right way so you guys understand this, because I want you to have this tool, because I think it makes a big difference. So let's talk about Trender Pro, also known as the Profit Multiplier. And this is Trender Pro 2.0. It's actually the third version, even though it's got that name. So let's start out, and we're going to take a little different angle here. We're going to use colors again, but we're going to look at something different here. And a great way to demonstrate this is by giving you an example. And see if you can relate this to your own trading. This is like trading the wrong side of the mountain. And here we have a really nice run moving higher, right? And it looks great, right? So we buy on a pullback, right? We get a pullback here, we jump in. Well, inevitably, what happens? Well, yeah, you can say this is typical, right? I know some of you might be thinking that every time I jump in, it goes down or I get stopped out. And you can add your favorite expletive here. You know, the problem here is that we entered the trade on the wrong side of the mountain. In other words, we were going long at the time that the market was pulling back. It looked like it was going to be going up here. It looked strong. It looked like it wanted to move higher, but we took a bullish entry when it was on the way down. How could we have known? How could we have known? It's really hard to tell here. Now, to make matters worse, after we got stopped out, the market came down and then started to go back up again. And at the point where it started to look like it was going to be a good bullish trade, we were still upset about what happened back here and kind of chicken to get back into the market. So we didn't jump in at the opportune time, and we missed out on the run when it finally did happen. Okay, so we were in the right frame of mind that it was going to run higher, but we just didn't time it correctly. Okay. Has this ever happened to any of you? Have you ever felt like this is what the market does to you? And wouldn't you like to know if there's a way to make this clearer so you don't have to trade like this? I would bet that some of you are feeling that way. So let me first say that the market's not out to get you. Even though it feels like the market's out to get you, what's happening here is the hedge fund traders have this all figured out much better than the average retail trader. They got all the resources to create the cool tools to be able to see things going on behind the charts. And they've got tools like value charts. They also have tools that I'm going to show you here. We can bring in another tool ourselves that can help us navigate our way through our charts to find optimal entries and exits. And just like value charts, if you're not using this and getting more visualization of what's going on with the market, you're missing out on seeing all that the chart is telling us. You know, the trend is your friend when it's revealed in a way you can use it, because we've got hidden chart trend action happening, telling us what to do. We just have to reveal it so we can hear it. Now, I'm about to show you how MTP2, which is MQ Trender Pro 2.0, how it's going to change your trading, just as value charts will change your trading, changing it in a way that matters and makes sense, because MTP2 is going to let you visualize price action and trend in a way so you can anticipate stock movement before it happens. As you see, hopefully you're seeing some parallels between MTP2 and value charts. They're going to work together really well. You're going to find yourself entering and exiting trades with a newfound confidence, because you're going to get a visual indication that it's a good time to enter bullish or bearish or not. And you're going to have freedom to stay in trades longer. This is probably one of the biggest advantages of MTP2, this last bullet here. Imagine getting in a trade at the right time and then staying in it for the maximum gain rather than getting in and out, getting chopped up. I mean, you know how nice it is to go in with a sizable position and start picking off little bits of it as you get more and more gains, and letting the last little bits of it run for the biggest gains. That's when trading starts to get fun. That's what I want. That's where I want all of you to be. And this right here is how we multiply our gains by staying in longer. And that's why I call this one the hedge fund profit multiplier. Now, how does it do this and what does it do for you? MTP2 is going to help you by doing some pretty cool things. It's going to map out the actions of what the chart is doing by color right on top of your chart. It's going to be like having Google Maps right on your charts with a GPS. Okay? And it's going to work on almost any type of chart or symbol. And it does this through very simple, logical color coding that'll make sense to you immediately. You'll instantly know what to do and when to do it. Now, that's going to give you some confidence that's going to let you stay in those trades for the bigger gains, because you're going to be able to ride those trades out for longer. You're going to maximize your profit. All of this coming together is going to do something else that's really important to your trading, which is going to it's going to get rid of your trading fears, because you're going to have newfound confidence taking your trades when the chart is confirming your entry as you're taking it. Okay, and we're going to stamp out fear. And if we can stamp out fear in your trading, we're going to reduce emotions in our trading, and we become more logical and more systematic. And that's when you're going to start to see the money piling in. Okay, you need to have a fear buster. You need to believe in your system, and the confidence you're going to get from a tool like this, like having Google Maps on top of your charts and a GPS, that's going to give you the confidence and the guidance to take your trades further than you have in the past. And that's how you can maximize your profits and keep out of those lower probability trades. So how does it do it? Well, Trender Pro helps us see the market in a new way, and a new way that is just like a GPS. It simplifies what the market's telling us. It'll tell us which way to turn and help us get to our destination. Now, of course, destination is bigger profits. Now, with Trender Pro, lays out a map for us right on our chart. It tells us which way the market's heading, and it's very simple: green for bullish, blue for sideways, red for bearish. And the core point behind MTP2 is that it simplifies our trading so we can easily make the decisions to get into trades, get out of trades, and even know when to stay on the sidelines. So we also have a couple of new things. This is one of the things we added in this Pro 2.0 version. We added a couple of extra variations of color here, and we have our extended color. Hey, the extended color is showing us when our markets are getting extended. It shows up as gray. It gives us a heads up that we've been running for a long time in this direction and that we might not continue anymore. Now, you might say, all right, that's when you want to jump out. No, you don't want to jump out right when you get extended. Extended means we're really running. So it might keep really running. So you don't want to just jump out of the trade on extended. Rather, you want to just tighten up your stop and preserve your gains. Maybe you won't jump into a trade. You don't want to jump into a new trade when you're extended, but start to pull off some profits, take partial profits, but I'm going to let that thing run. We're going to let it continue. We also have what's called the trailed stop, and it's kind of like a mile marker post. And these are when we have a subtle or small pullback against the underlying trend. That indicates that the trend's pausing and maybe even reversing. But these end up being really good reversal points to actually trail your stops to. So we call them trailed stop points. And if you'd like, I call them golden bars because, first of all, they're yellow on the chart, but also because that's where we get money sometimes. So all of these colors that I'm showing here, it seems like a lot maybe, but it really just shows up on your chart. And it's like having Google Maps, like I said, overlaid right on your chart to show you where you're going. So let me show you how this works. I'm going to go back to that same example we had where we were trading with MQ Trender Pro 2.0 and we did the wrong side of the mountain. Remember what we did is we jumped in here, right? And we said, oh, we're going to go long here only to have it reverse and stop us out. Remember, we had a little bad word there, we said. And now let's go ahead and turn on our GPS map overlay. This will be adding Trender Pro on top of this chart. So now we've added Trender Pro on our chart. Immediately you see all these different colors, right? So first thing over here is, remember, green is bullish. Okay, gray was extended. Blue, this blue right here is neutral. And we've got red for being bearish, back to neutral, and bullish again over here. So now, instead of seeing it this way with just up and down green, or maybe your charts are all black, it doesn't really give you all that extra information. You have this, which tells you through here we're bullish, Through here, we're neutral. Through here, we're bearish. So let's see how we would have taken this trade this time. Okay. And again, this is now our GPS overlay. Trender Pro is lighting the way so we can see immediately where we got extended. So where were we extended? Right here. Remember we said, hey, we're going to be jumping into a trade to go long. Well, Trender Pro already knew we had gone too far. See how it's gray right here. And remember I said earlier, if it's extended, we wouldn't want to jump in. We're not going to necessarily jump out, but we're certainly not going to jump in if we're already extended. And so that would have saved us from getting in here. Then what happened? We dropped down and changed to blue. And right here where we got stopped out, well, it turns out that's when it started to turn the other way. We were actually in a position to take a good bearish trade, right? We could have actually made a little money going the other way. So when we got stopped out, there was already reversal there. Now, the real place to get in was over here. Okay, remember, this was the point where I was suggesting that this was a good point. It turns out there's actually another thing here. There's an inverted head and shoulder right here that you could have traded as well. But look how Trender Pro right at this point changed to green. That's the signal from going to either from red to green or blue to green. That's a signal to jump in. And look what happened. So right here, we would have known not to get in here, and we would have skipped this loss, maybe taken a short bearish trade here. But right here, we would have jumped in at the opportune time just before all this big move. So I hope you see how we can go from just having red and green bars that don't really give us any roadmap to having this GPS roadmap just guide us and tell us this is the spot to get in. Don't get in here. Think about getting in here. You know, so it's helping us out. So how does it do this? It's kind of amazing how it does it. It's full of our own microquant technology as well as some non-proprietary technology, but it brings together several of our best indicators and non-proprietary indicators into consideration when it determines trends and colors the bars. It uses those different technologies in different situations. So that's why it can be adaptable no matter what market we're in. So for example, in one instance, it might pull from momentum or price action or linear regression lines or adaptive moving averages, or maybe comparing one bar to another, candlestick patterns. This thing's loaded with technology. Any or all of these things could be brought into that factor. In fact, this version of MTP2 can have 49 different states that the indicator calculations can be in. So it's a little bit complex. It runs really fast. It's just all numbers and math, but it drives more accurate results. And then by looking at these different factors, we can accommodate our trend identification across just about every type of market. And we use adaptive filters. We measure the current market in all those different ways and score them. And we come up with a number. And that's how we are able to identify the color coding. If we have 10 or 12 filters active, we might be strongly bullish. If it's 7 of 12, we're neutral to bullish. Maybe if it's only 4, we might be neutral. It's all built into the code. It's a little more complicated than I'm making it sound, maybe, or maybe I'm sounding complicated. I don't know. But all we need to know is this thing is easy to use. It gets brought down into just some easy to use colors that just lay out the path. So there's little question on what to do and when. Now, if I want to share a little bit more about how we can use this tool and how it's going to help you. So imagine if you now own it, and I'm going to show you how to make money with it as far as staying in very simply, a very simple way to get in and out. And many traders struggle with staying in a trade that's been running for a while. They get nervous as they're in it, and their profits, they're worried they're going to lose their profits. So we address that in 2 ways. First, we use color alone to help us get into a winning trade. And then we can use either color to help us stay in the trade as far as changing from red to green, for example, or we can use our golden bar. So let me show you both of those. So in this example, we have enter long on green. If you look really closely, there's a signal right here that says long entry. Okay, this is neutral to bullish right here, the darker green. Then we have strongly bullish here. Okay, if you were going to do a short trade, you'd be looking to enter on red. But here we are changing from blue to green. Again, the signal moving from neutral to bullish. And then we stay in the trade until we go red. Well, we never got red here In fact, we could still be in this trade, waiting for it to move higher. Okay, what I would do too is these are those golden bars, and I would make sure that I lock in some gains below these, okay, when we get these. So if I had done that here, I would have got taken out of this trade on a trailed stop bar, trailing stop here. Now, the bigger you put that trailed stop out, the longer you'll stay in. So you have the potential for bigger gains. But we also got an exit signal right here, and that was a switch back to blue. So that's the other option you have, is to optionally exit on blue, and that would have been an exit right here. So not a bad trade. You got the whole thing, all the way from this easy on green entry all the way up until you turn blue. Okay, pretty cool. It gets as simple as that if you want to trade it that way. Now here's an alternate method that I like to use using these golden bars. And with the golden bars, what we're going to do is, instead of waiting for blue, we're going to exit by looking at the bar that follows the golden bar. And if it closes against our direction, we're out. So in this case here, see, here's the golden bar. And then here's the bar that followed it. It closed higher than it opened. We're bullish, we're staying in. In other words, when it closes up, we stay in. Here, it closed up, we stay in. Okay, here, it closed lower. We would get out right here. Okay, so that's another method that you can use, and it's pretty easy. So when it closes up, we trail the stop, lock in the gains, stay in for the ride, trail the stop, lock in the gains, trail the stop, either get taken out on the move lower or the fact that it closed lower than it opened. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. It is like a GPS. Here's another example here. Let's say we got in at this long entry point here. Here is the golden bar, the bar that follows it, closed up, stay in. Got another golden bar here. This bar barely closed up, we stay in. If you got out somehow, here's another entry to get in. Right here, golden bar. We're still green all through here. Might have gotten a blue right here, but we're using golden bar approach. And the golden bar approach would have overridden this blue anyways because we closed higher. Right here, closed higher. Guess what? We'd still be in this trade. Way up here. You would have been able, with this technique, to weather this pullback, and you wouldn't have even been nervous because you know, because it stays green, that this thing is poised to keep going. That's the power of having this extra insight here. That's what hedge funds use to help them stay in. They use systems like this. Okay, and we've got our MTP2 signals helping us along the way. Now, this is a lot of stuff going on in this chart. I'm pointing out some things in here. We've got the highlighted bars. Here's MQ momentum down here. We've got our signals pointed out over here, and these are the components of MQ momentum with our histograms, fast and slow lines. The documentation tells you how to use MQ momentum, and I would like to invite you to some of our live trading rooms, and we can explain it even further. But the documentation does a great job at it, and we have some other videos and stuff that explain it. If we have time, I can show you an example of it too. I don't know if we have time or not. But the other thing I wanted to point out here is that this is one of the templates that you get, and this is showing a weekly chart on the left, and then the same chart, which is Apple, with the daily on the right. And what we're demonstrating here is multi-time frame convergence using colors. So over here, we're bullish on the weekly. Well, if we're bullish on the weekly, we're all about being bullish on the daily. Look at the movement that we're seeing here and the strength of the rise, because we're being lifted up by the bullishness on the weekly. So if we can monitor what our color is on the higher time frame chart, it's giving us permission even more to be able to be bullish throughout here. And look at the results. It's just flying up. I hope this is exciting for some of you to be able to trade with guidance like this. It's like having with Google Maps, but it's also like having somebody who is kind of telling you from behind, this is what's happening in the charts right there. This is an up move. So here's where we moved up here. We're going to expect to see the movement there. And just like value charts, you're going to get more things. You're going to get MQ momentum, and we're going to get our trend ribbon. This is an MQ momentum right here. And here's an example of how MQ momentum can help you. Right here, we can see that we're moving lower. And notice how we're moving lower at this point with lower lows and lower highs. But on momentum, which if you just look at the solid white line, look how, if you look at the pivots and connect those, we're rising here. And that's called a bullish divergence. So MQ momentum is telling us, hey, be careful as you're dropping here, because the momentum saying we're getting more bullish. And it's no surprise that right here, we were already ready to change over back to our golden bar, change into neutral, and we got a long entry right here. By using MQ momentum, you would already have some insight that this was about to reverse. So you can ride this down for the maximum profit, but you'd start to lock in your gains because this is a bullish divergence. Same thing with the trend ribbon down here. This is using a technology, another indicator called MQ trend, to be able to identify the bias. Look how bullish we were through this phase. And right at this point, we got 4 things telling us that we were breaking through the 0 point with the fast line here. We got red histograms. We got a bearish signal here, and we changed to red on Trender Pro. We can't help but go down from here. And look what happened. Okay, so we can start to look at all these different signals in combination to have a better case that we are going to follow through. You also get the Expert Advisor designed just for Trender Pro. It's going to give you the highlights of what you're seeing and also some considerations, including if you have a golden bar, if you want to trail it, etc. Also talk about trend being bullish, bearish, etc., and what to do about it. You've got your Explorer, which allows you to look for current setups where we have breakouts out of consolidation zones, etc. So opportunities for getting into some pretty good bullish or bearish trades. An even greater guide comes with Trender Pro in all the ways that it's being used. And the other thing I wanted to point out here, this is Gary. So Gary is the host for one of our trading rooms. He hosts a room from 8 o'clock till noon every day. Gary's actually a 35-year veteran who was really good at following orders, and that makes him an awesome trader. In fact, he's one of our best traders at BCT, and he's had some really good months. So it's not just a couple of months here and there. I'll show you these months that he's had, but he's regularly generating impressive monthly gains, and he's even made 150,000 plus a month at times when the volatility is with him. He's trading futures, and he's often asked if there's one indicator, just one, that he could use. If you ask him what it would be, and you can ask him when you meet him, his response is always easy. He'll immediately say this indicator, MQ Trender Pro 2.0, by far, because he credits Trender Pro for giving him the insight to stay in trades longer to get those big gains. He feels that the confidence he gained with Trender Pro is the reason he was able to get those huge winning months. So, with Trender Pro, you can see whether you're bullish or not, and you say, I'm just going to stay in and let this thing run. Now, he'll take profits as he goes, but now he's trading 5 contracts and letting that 5th one run all the time. And that's when you get those big $1,000 moves on top of the multi-thousands you get by taking the other ones off earlier. Okay, now it's ultimately Gary that's doing the trading, not the indicator, but he attributes a lot of his success to having this indicator, and that's why this is his favorite indicator. I know that sounds like a lot of marketing, but ask him. Go into his room and ask him what his favorite is, and he will tell you. Okay, now I can't guarantee that you're going to see these kinds of changes, and this is when he was just getting started, by the way. This is an incredible month. Usually he likes to cut that off. He's almost embarrassed of that because just everything lined up for him that month, where the volatility was so high. But it was because he was using a system and following the system, and it just happened. He had $30,000 days, okay, and he attributes that to Trender Pro 2.0, and that's why we call it the profit multiplier. Okay. Now, I've shown you how to unlock the hidden hedge fund techniques to improve your trading, and I showed you how we can use 2 easy-to-use tools to trade like a hedge fund, because we're exposing the hidden information that's behind the chart so we can get our massive profits. And I've set this up now tonight so you have the opportunity to completely transform your trading using those 2 proven tools. Remember, it's the value charts, which I call the hedge fund fixer, because remember, it fixed that hedge fund from losing $62,000 a month to making $27,000 a month, just like that. And then we also have Trender Pro 2, the GPS for your charts, and I call that one the profit multiplier. Okay, a couple more examples. This trade was last Friday. Okay, this is Global Star, and it opened up starting on Monday after it gave us a buy signal right down here. This is an MTP2 entry here. Got a long entry signal. This thing jumped a whopping 68% at the next open. Okay, no surprise that it was extended once we got up here, and that said take your profits, because we really didn't go up more from there. So we could have locked in our gains because we knew we were extended. Okay, pretty cool stuff. Look at this one here. This is MTP2 settling 2 beautiful gains in the past week alone. This is in Sphere 3D. The ticker symbol is NE if you're looking for it. It's kind of a weird combination there. But this first one from last Thursday rose over 73% in just 2 trading days. Look how we got extended. This is why I don't want you to jump out when you get extended. So when you buy this indicator, remember this. Don't just jump out, okay? Because you might still have a lot of big gains. Just trail your stop. Here, one thing you can do is trail it to the last pivot or trail a few bars back, but let it run. That's how you get these big gains. Okay, then after this big move, we consolidated for a while. Look how quickly, as soon as it broke out of this consolidation, MTP2 signals were on it. Right here, we got a long entry. Had you jumped in right here at the close of this bar, there's another 50% gain. Okay, this one's still going. I haven't checked it since I put this on my charts around noon today or something. But this one was still going. This is on the 30-minute chart if you want to check it out. Those are the kind of gains you're going to get. And because hedge funds are making this kind of money, because they have the information to see where the best moves are. Here's the good news is now you can too, because you've got an opportunity right now to get these tools so you can find these types of expert moves before they happen. And again, these are the tools that helps the hedge fund identify the optimal entries and exits. It gives them their edge. I can't imagine why you'd want to trade without having this type of information at your fingertips, because if you don't use this, they're going to eat you up. Okay, you can get these tools right now so you can have the same information that the hedge fund traders have. I've shown you how critical it is to add value in your trading decisions. I've shown you how Trender Pro can provide a GPS overlay for your chart that tells you when to get in and get out. And I showed you how Trender Pro gives you the courage to stay in for those bigger gains that'll make a real difference. I mean, sometimes those big runs are what makes all the difference in your equity curves. Now, these tools are going to transform your trading. If you're struggling with trading, I hope you're realizing that not having this type of information is working against you. The big traders and the hedge fund traders have this type of information at their fingertips. And now, right now, you can too. So don't let them be the only ones with that edge. Now, here's how you can add one or both of these essential indicators suites to your trading tool set. Remember, each of these contains several things here. Primarily, that's that indicator there, but the other things they contain are all those extras that I showed you, including MQ Momentum, which is a $300 value or $297 value in our store right now. This is a value charts. Here's Trender Pro. But tonight, you're going to have an opportunity to get both of them for a discounted price of $14.97. You don't have to settle for just one or the other. You can get both. Okay, so for today only, $14.97, you can pick up both of these, and you'll have both of those aspects to be able to affect your trading. You can download it and start using it tonight. If you want, go back and look at your past trades and see if value would have helped you with those trades. You know, find out if there's anything set up right now. Run the scans and the explorations and see if there's anything right now that interests you so you can be ready to jump in the morning. A question came in. Can you combine value charts and Trender Pro 2.0? Excellent question. So I'm going to show you how I do it. I don't try to put them all on the same chart. Okay, so I've got a couple things here. One, I've got a 30-minute chart on the left and a 30-minute chart on the right. I've got Trender Pro running over here on the left, and I've got value charts running on the right. If you want to create a new layout that has them all together, you can do that, but I like to be able to see price really well like this. So I've got the same information from Pfizer showing up on the left here and on the right. Now we've got a kind of an inverted head and shoulder going on here, looking for a good opportunity to get in. And we got a signal from MTP2 just as the trend ribbon was changing to green. So this, and we're a little bit late getting in here because we're at 30 minutes, but I think there's room for this to run, especially if we're jumping across this previous pivot, and we are. So we're already on our way up to this previous pivot. We've already got our signal. We changed from neutral to bullish. It's a buy signal, long entry. Okay, over here, we're getting a little bit of caution here because value charts is telling us be careful. We might be getting too hot too fast. What that's going to do is it's going to give us a little bit better timing because we've got value charts here. So what we can do is wait for value charts to go back into the green tomorrow morning. Okay, or if you want to wait till Tuesday, remember Monday's a holiday, you might want to wait a little bit more and wait for this to go into the green and buy it when it's back to fair value rather than buying it here. If you are feeling strong about it, and I can see being strong about this, by the way, and we are on 30-minute charts. The other thing that we've got here to make this stronger is this is what we call a bullish inflection that we can see from MQ momentum, which is simply when the histograms move lower and don't change color but start moving higher again. We also kissed the moving average on the MQ momentum, and we are moving higher. Okay, we are a little extended here. Okay, so for me, if I was going to take this trade, I probably would wait till next week, and I'm going to be waiting until I get back to a fair value, because why should I buy it when it's overpriced? Okay, now if it takes off and runs without me, so be it. But I expect what's going to happen is it's going to go sideways from here for a couple of days, and that's going to bring value back down, and it's going to make it so I've got my green here on Trender Pro, and I've got my green on value charts, and I'm ready to go. Okay, but we do have a signal here. That's a valid signal. If you want to jump in now, you could jump in now. You could do a partial entry for this one and then add in more when you get the green entry here and trade both parts. That's another option you have. But great question. And yes, they do work really well together. So if I wanted to look at something like solo, I can switch both of these at the same time, and I can immediately see the results from both. Okay, any other questions?
We have some questions from the YouTube channel, if it's a good time for me to cut in a little bit.
Sure, sure.
A question that came up both from Edwin and Giddy, which I'm sure that's his real name. But what was, does this work on intraday charts? And what are the best time frames to use the value charts intraday?
So Jeff, let me ask you, do most metastock traders trade daily charts and higher time frames, or do they get right down to the 2-minute, 5-minute, and maybe even tick charts?
I think it depends on who it is, but based on kind of some of the surveys we've done, I think you can safely assume that about 60% of the metastock users are using daily charts, weekly charts, monthly charts, and then the other 40% would be having access to any kind of charts that they want to, like intraday or that kind of stuff. So,
all right. Well, so the answer is that value charts and Trender Pro work on all those time frames. They can work on 2-minute, 5-minute, 30-minute. We even have something called the impulse system that we use, and that is using Trender Pro on a 30-second chart. 30-second chart. We also use it on the higher time frames, on the weekly and the monthly, and let it give us overall bias on a market. So the answer is yes, it works on all those time frames, and it works equally well on all those time frames. The thing is, though, if you get a signal on like a 30-minute chart, the signal's good for about 2 to 3 bars. So that setup lasts for an hour and a half, right? So three 30-minute bars would be an hour and a half. If you had a setup on a daily chart, that setup's good for 3 bars or 3 days. If you see that on a weekly chart, that setup is good for 3 bars. And guess what? 3 weeks. So when you're trading across the time frames, you do it the same way. It's almost recursive or fractal in that way. But the impact of that trade has a greater impact. Your stops will be further away, your targets will be better, further away. But the system works on all time frames. And like I said, we use it all the way from monthly down to 30 seconds in systems that we have. So it works great on all time frames and on tick charts. And we even use it on Renko charts and Unirenko and custom Renko charts.
All right. One more from the YouTube audience. And this is also from Giggity 12. I'm sorry. I find it surprising that he had to go to number 12 for that one, but maybe there's a reason he picked 12. But he wants to know if you could contrast like the difference of value charts between like VWAP and a volume weighted average price. Is there similarities there? I know that you're probably not going to get too much into the details about how value charts is calculated, But is it similar to value weighted average price?
You know, it's not similar to VWAP. No, I'm not an expert in VWAP, but I think what that is, and I don't know what the weighted formula is, but it's trying to figure out what's the most commonly traded or heavily traded price that day, right? That's what VWAP, that's how I use it anyways. Maybe I've got that wrong, but VWAP to me is volume weighted average price, right? So that is a value of what was the most heavily traded price for the day. That has nothing to do with value. We don't know if the most heavily traded price was overvalued or undervalued, right? Value is kind of an elusive thing, and it is relative to its past performance. But if I had to describe what value charts was like, it's almost like working with standard deviations. And some of you might have noticed that some of the numbers are pretty close to SD numbers, like 2/3 or 66%, and then the 92nd, 93rd percent for the red. And that's probably the closest if you're trying to compare it to something else. It's not the same, but if you understand about the bell curve and you understand how that stuff works, you're kind of in the ballpark with values. That stuff gets kind of complicated, and working with the bands can get complicated. We just simplified it down to these easy colors. So you can just look for red, get in when we have a lower red down here, and jump out when you get the upper red down here, and do it again and again if you want, especially in a sideways market. So we're trying to get it easier, but I wouldn't put VWAP and value charts anywhere near as being similar.
And that is kind of the questions. I want to say thank you to Joseph, Giggity, and Edwin for asking some questions. Those were some really good questions. Thank you.
All right, great. No, yeah, I appreciate it. I know it's late and people are probably getting close to being in long weekend mode, so I appreciate you guys being here. And if you learn how to trade the right way, you can have a lot more long weekends. You can make every weekend a long weekend, and you start to make them a little longer all the time, and pretty soon you're retired.
All right, very good. I wanted to just show a few things that kind of show off the implementation in Metastock. Do you mind if I take control for?
Oh, not at all. Go ahead.
Just a second or two. Okay, so let me go ahead and just make the presenter me, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I'm going to ask John. John, can you see Metastock here?
Yeah, I can. Yes. Okay.
So this is like just the MQ2 Trender black template. And one of the things I love about Metastock, if you're not familiar with Metastock, if you're not there's a few things that I love, but if you're not familiar with Metastock, a couple of things that we like to kind of talk about is the fact that it's been rated #1 in its price category for like 27 years in a row. And one of the things I think John did a really good job is actually designing the tools that they had, the patented tools that they have that are very, very good, and really taking full advantage of the Metastock program. So I wanted to take just a few minutes to talk, and this is only going to maybe take a minute or two, but just talk about kind of the expert commentary. This is the black template. You'll notice right here, there's a bit of a long entry. And what I want to point out over here in the corner here is that it's giving English definitions to what's going on. So right now, we're in a strongly bullish phase on the Dow Industrials. This is referring to this daily chart here, indicating that we're likely to move higher. This can indicate that the Dow Industrial Average ETF will continue to move higher. Watch for signs that it might be losing energy and moving back to neutral. It's also going to give us advice about this long entry signal. And I probably won't read the whole thing out loud, but it's just going to say a long entry signal has been signaled. Long entry means this. Your entry could be above the break of the signal bar's high. You'll notice that it's really, really kind of going in and kind of giving you a definition. So the training and stuff like that, the manuals, all that kind of stuff is really, really good. But this is topical. Right now, I'm looking at a bar that has an L entry on it, and it's helping me remember exactly what I should be doing with it. And I just love this particular part of Metastock because I think for me, it helps me remember what's going on a chart. And if you're new to something like this, it can be very, very extremely helpful. The other thing that I wanted to show real quickly, and I've run this just because I knew it would take a second to run, and it probably took about a minute or two. But what I did is I actually just did a new long entry. This is what we call an exploration for Metastock. So I did a bull new long entry scan, and I just scanned the index constituents 500. And you can kind of see that right here, based on this, running it on a daily basis, if I'm just looking for long entries, and let's say we're looking at the S&P 500. I like to trade the S&P 500 for a lot of very personal reasons. And I'm not going to get into that, but like if I'm looking for stocks that have an opportunity now, or a long opportunity now, instead of looking at all 505 stocks here, I can just look at the 29 that have a long opportunity. Now, there's a lot of different groups I could choose. I usually do the S&P 500. I like the fact that they're on the S&P 500. They're generally more stable. They generally have a bit of volume to them, and they're generally well-known instruments. But if I don't care about that, or if I wanted to get a little bit broader, I could scan just about anything that I wanted to. For example, I could scan all the ETFs that exist. I could scan all of the optionable stocks. If you happen to be international and we actually have a lot of customers that are from India. We actually have the Indian stock markets. We get a lot of customers that are from Australia who couldn't care anything about like the US markets. They want to do the Australian markets, but we have those as well. Actually, with the data that we get from Refinitiv, we cover over 200 global exchanges, whether those are stock exchanges or futures exchanges. We even have a really good Forex coverage and some of the coins and stuff like that. But it doesn't matter. If it's something that you're interested in, and it's part of those 200 exchanges, you'll be able to apply these tools to whatever market you're interested in. You'll be able to scan and find the opportunities today and ignore all the crap that you don't need to look at. And talking about, I like John, how he said it's a good way to make every weekend a longer weekend. Just talk about an easy workflow. Show me what exists here that I want to take a look at. And I think I think, John, that you did a really good job programming this for Metastock. I want to commend you for that. You really understood kind of what the tools are for and took advantage of it. So in any case, let me go ahead and kind of go in here. The value chart suite, John talked a lot about, and we won't be going through this very thing, but I wanted to know that these are two very, very popular tools in Metastock. With just value charts alone, you're going to get the value charts indicator, the momentum indicator. It includes 6 of those explorations or those market scans. You'll get the expert advisor and the template for value charts. Normally, that is $1,495. Here at the show, it's going to be $995. Okay, but you can also get the Trender Pro 2.0. That by itself is a full add-on that's worth $1,495. It gives you all those readings in terms of whether that's bullish or bearish or strongly bullish or strongly bearish. It kind of really helps you kind of spell all that stuff out. It's got the scans that I just showed you as well as the commentary. And so here's a list of what's included. And I'm not going to read these off. I just want you to understand that they're two very, very popular add-ons that have been very well received by not only the customers that we have, but also a lot of the staff that we've got here at Metastock as well. So what we're going to do here, you can buy either one of these for $9.95 here at the show. With both of them, we're going to give you a 30-day money-back guarantee. So you can try them. If they're helpful for you, you can keep them. They should absolutely pay for themselves. If you don't think they're helpful after you've tried them out, you can just get a refund. If you're new to Metastock, if you haven't tried our software that's been rated 27 years in a row #1, we'll actually give you a free trial to that as well. So basically what I want to do as a trader, when you're going in and doing trades, you don't often have a chance to kind of have a low risk, high reward opportunity like this. But with this one, you can do $14.95, which is actually the cost of just buying one of them. It's like getting both for the price of one. Not only that, we're going to back you with a 30-day money-back guarantee. And if you need a copy of Metastock, we'll provide that to you so you can fully evaluate not only everything that Value Charts and MQ Trender Pro has to offer, but also the Metastock program as well. So the phone number is 800-882-3040. You can visit us online at metastock.com/saleschat. And you can also go to metastock.com/valuechartsc. So there you go. Giggity, giggity. You're welcome. Thanks for saying thank you for that. That's all I've got, John. Do you have any final thoughts?
I'll just say, if you've been struggling with your trading, it's really helpful to get this extra insight into your charts. It just makes trading easier. I wouldn't want to trade without it. So I hope if you're going to keep trading and you don't have a tool or something like this that helps you this way, you might want to consider it. At least add it to your Christmas list, if nothing else. But the sooner you get it, the sooner you can make profits with it.
All right. Very good. I want to say thank you, John, for coming today. For everybody that watched the video, whether you watched it real time or you're watching it late, like maybe tomorrow or the next day, thank you for it. If there's anything we can do for you, please feel free to reach out. Give it a try. 800-882-3040. You get a money back guarantee on it. Metastock.com/sales chat or metastock.com/value-charts. So hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something today. Hope we see you at the next one. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks, guys.
Okay, bye-bye.